Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Legend of Korra Book 2 Spirits episode commentary. This one's going to be for K212 Harmonic Convergence, the 12th episode of Book 2 Spirits. This episode commentary is actually going to start just with the opening scene of the episode, basically. My version of the episode that I have doesn't include the intro for this episode, so have your episode ready to go with the opening scene, which obviously starts off with a look at the ship that Team Avatar is on, so have that ready to go. I'm going to stop speaking now in a moment, and then when I start speaking again after that pause, that's when you hit play, and that's when you'll be synced up with my commentary track. So I'm going to stop speaking now. Okay, so here we are with Harmonic Convergence, 12th episode, and we open up with Jinora being healed by Kaya to basically keep her body alive while her spirit is away, which I think is an important point to make, that her body is still still needs to survive and obviously be healed. The Kaya giving her energy and stuff like that with the healing, kind of a bit like Sword Art Online, the whole deal of like while they're in the game, their bodies are being kept alive in hospital, but that's an odd comparison. But either way, first, I really consider this to be the first episode of the finale, so to say. Last episode was a setup, the perfect setup in a way, given how it ended, and this is really the start of it, because by the end of this episode, Harmonic Convergence happens, and there's also a lot of action that happens in this episode, so these last three are really kind of packed full of stuff, and this one's a pretty important episode. Some important stuff happens. Mako's still not quite sure about how to approach Korra about reminding her that they broke up before. And then there's the reference to like the earlier episode, earlier on in the book, Bolin teasing Mako about the advice he gave him about how to deal with breaking up with someone. And obviously seeing how intense Korra is, how intense she is about closing this portal, he's very concerned about this. Like, Mako's gonna wish he'd never been born if he says something to her, is basically his reaction. It's just a funny little setup that they have from the whole romance arc. But again, it's an interesting situation that they have here, in that until Korra remembers the scene, the couple can't actually develop going forward at all. So the romance has really gone nowhere since the initial breakup in episode 5, and that's the one real problem I have with the romance arc. It's just that there's no scene there where you really see what the issue is with Mako and Korra's relationship, because so little time is spent with it, really. And we see how intense Tenzin is about everything here, that he's not his usual self, he's acting pretty aggressively just to get Jinora back. And this is where Bumi comes into his own, pretty much. This is the kind of Bumi focused episode in a way. As much as his stories and advice is a bit over the top, he's got the kind of gist of the idea that's kind of needed here, and he really helps things work out and saves the day a little bit in the end. And a barrel of molasses. And this is where Korra finds out that her father's been defeated, basically, injured. And we finally get the kind of reunion. Korra returns to the South Pole and meets her mother, finds out her father's been injured, and given everything that's happened, it's a really emotional moment. They're carrying Jinora's like body without her spirit in it around the place. It's emotional times in this episode right now. You see the intensity from Korra here, eager to make this happen, and so many are injured from the attack, and Katara is right now the only person who can keep Jinora's body alive any longer as well. So it makes Katara seem important as well, just that she's that good of a healer. And then we get to mention that it is literally her soul, which I think is an important thing to state, that the characters in Avatar really do have souls, and it kind of presents us the first little thing about kind of like afterlife in the Avatar world, but that is going to be explored too much more, but just nice to know that it's their spirit, soul, whatever they want to call it. And then there's the setup there that there's a kind of time frame on this thing, like they can't spend too much longer, or Janora is at risk of her body dying, more or less. It's only a few hours away, and then Tens is just like, we're breaking through. We got to do this, and they all kind of agree that at this stage that's the only thing that can be done. They have to just go for it, and that's how serious things are. There's no time to come up with a super clever plan. Just a little bit of a kind of plan here that they kind of come up with here. Coming in from the air. Boomy's still rocking those pink earmuffs. And then Simon's just like, wait, he's right. And that's the really one thing that Unalak's, I suppose, forces don't really have, the air forces. They obviously haven't seen the spirits that are up in the air that obviously debuted in the last episode with the fight between. That's how Unalak arrived to fight Tonrock. Naga and Pubu are left behind, and just the kind of lingering shot on them, you know that they're going to come back into it at some stage, maybe save the day. It doesn't quite happen in that exact way where like he saved the day, but they come back again. And then what I like here is that this is the first kind of sign of, well, not the second. It's kind of the second sign we saw him not caring about what happened to Desna, but this time they're like, we've restored balance. We have control of both tribes. Can we go now? And he's kind of then begins to kind of scare them with his kind of ambitions and plans. Like, what else is there to do? And he kind of just doesn't quite tell them exactly what he's planning to do, but the world's about to transform, and they're like, what are you doing? And they're just starting to really doubt their father for pretty much the first time ever, which is going to be explored in the next few episodes with Eska and Desna's interactions. And I think it comes up really naturally, just the way the two of them start to doubt him, and how they remain loyal to him, but eventually it just gets to a point where like, this is too crazy and we can't agree with this anymore. So we have the groups splitting up. There's going to be two different groups of people attacking here. Asami, Bolin, and Mako, and then everyone else on the Sky Bison. There's no way they'll be expecting this, and then spirits flying all around the portal. Perfect. And they have the army ready as well. Unalak knew that the obvious move was for them to attack, so instantly you're just like, oh, that ship is going down, that plane's going down. Like, this is a full army force here, and it's like pretty much a full-scale battle here, and they're so badly outnumbered. But it's really well done with the bending here, the ice spears. Asami, her real moment to kind of prove herself in this book kind of comes at this point in time. We see just how good of a pilot she is. But apart from that, we don't get a whole lot of time with her to really see what her character's like, which I suppose is what people are wanting to see, which I assume we will get in book 3 and 4. But just showing that she's an excellent pilot of most machines is a pretty nice thing to show. Nice skill to have. Makes her unique, I suppose, among Team Avatar and everyone else who, for the most part, only have experience with riding animals and stuff like that. But the bombs come back here. The remote detonators this time being used on the good side of things to take out some of the weaponry here. And then with the other team, while they're dealing with the actual soldiers on the ground, it's the Sky Bison team that deals with the spirits flying through the air. And we see a bit of, Oogie here kind of struggling to after being kind of possessed, attacked by dark spirits. And a really shocking thing to see, like Oogie basically potentially getting possessed and attacked by a dark spirit. But we kind of lose Boomy here, which I suppose is a setup for him finally getting his big moment. you'd think, oh, heroic sacrifice, he's out of the battle now. But then when we cut back to him after everyone else is captured, you're like, oh, that's what they're setting up towards. Boomy saving the day, and he gets his kind of moment, which is nice. But here's where everything starts to go wrong. They're too badly outnumbered. The plane's going down. Oogie's going down because of all the dark spirits, and just like didn't really think this was going to happen. You thought the heroes were going to somehow make it into the portal and maybe arrive just too late, but no, they're actually captured beforehand, and they still just about make it in time. So it's a nice kind of change up from maybe what you'd expect. But I like that it's Eska and Desna ultimately who are the ones who just like join the battle, and straight away that's what puts the ship down. That's showing just how powerful they are in terms of like turning the tides of battle. But yeah, we're left with it in like a few seconds, just seeing all of our main characters just kind of get knocked out in these kind of really vicious crashes. It's pretty kind of insane moments to happen. Here's the second one. 3 more knocked out. And just to see that, oh, they're all like injured, they're all captured, all put together, it's like, where is this going? This was not how I predicted this would go, but it's nicely done here in that they get a chance to have this moment where they're captured and they can just talk to each other. Korra and Tonraq reunite. And she doesn't want him to give up. That's a nice kind of just thing to have there. Everyone's put in together. And here's Unalaq arriving. I think this is where he's about to explain to them that he's going to become a Dark Avatar, and they get a bit of time to convince Eska and Desna. And this is a key kind of point here in that he thinks that Juan has done something really bad by separating the spirits and humans together, which we know I think was the right decision in that time. And while Unalaq's going about something that, on the outside, seems good, he's doing it in such a villainous and kind of way that it just makes you kind of, he is a villain in doing all of this. And then here we go, to make things balance, he's gonna fuse with Vaatu and become a dark avatar. And there's his plan all along. And Tonraq's line here is important. He knows that he's always had a deep spiritual connection to spirits, but he's going to be losing his humanity here because they know that this is the dark spirit. This is not going to be like Rava joining with Juan out of like mutual respect. Vaatu will just be using Unalaq for power, basically, and he's going to just lose himself in this. This isn't going to be like the Avatar situation here, where it's a human with a spirit inside them. Vaatu's going to want control of this partnership as opposed to the human that kind of more or less controls it in other things. And Eska and Desna don't quite question it here, but that look to each other is just like, whoa, he's kind of lost it here. He really has lost his humanity. He doesn't care about anyone except the spirits. And that's a nice character arc, I think, for him. That's the key thing, and you don't get it until really late. That it's just that he cares more for the spirits than humans at this point in time. We see Boomy has indeed survived the fall. And here's just a funny moment here coming up here as he tries to fight a spirit on his own. Punch. And the spirit's just not doing anything. A vicious uppercut, and you think, oh, he's finally done something, but no. No. That hasn't done anything, Boomy. And then he has a secret knife here, I believe, as well. And then whoa, it's like he nearly gets stabbed in the face. And then just they have this funny moment, but it's kind of a hero moment as well, where it's just this dark spirit happens to like music, and Boomy thinks, "Oh, all spirits like music. I can save the day by being the Pied Piper of spirits." And he temporarily turns this one kind of less dark, and it's just brilliant because you know he walks into the camp knowing, and you know what he knows, and you're just like, that's what he's gonna do. He's gonna do this and save the day using that, but it doesn't quite go that right. So I like that they kind of have you believe certain things are going to happen, but then do it slightly differently, but to the same result, and it just makes it less predictable. And that's one of the good things about this finale here. And here's the moment where they're going to try and convince Eska and Desna that they need to help stop Unalaq. And that's a key line, that he won't be your father anymore because he will be consumed by Vatu. She knows through the story with Juan and what she remembers that this isn't going to be the same situation as her and Rava. He will be consumed by him, and just that Eska and Desna both have this kind of complex with their father, where he's been right about everything. They think he's the wisest person in the world, and nothing he does is crazy or insane to them. But they care about him. The thing is, he doesn't care about them, and that's kind of, he's been using that against them to basically keep them on his side. And we're going to see that gradually change over the course of time in these next, I think, 2 episodes are really the focus on Eska and Desna. And then you think, yeah, okay, they're coming over, they're not quite attacking him yet. But then he keeps playing, and then suddenly, oh, they're just getting around him to attack him. It's just like, oh, it didn't work. But then we get the kind of brilliance of Boomy that, as as much as he has all these crazy plans about, we did X and Y with a barrel of this and a bit of that, he's kind of probably correct about a lot of these situations, because he now has this story where, I took out a whole troop of water tribe soldiers using a mecha tank, like grappling hook and a flute. Like, he has this crazy story to tell once again. And then they set this up in this story that no one believes him about these other stories, so when he finally has one to tell that's fully true, that's just happened, he doesn't even bother to tell it because they won't believe him anyway. But it's a really well done action scene, the way it just, this, and this comes together to make this happen, and he just takes everything out with one mecha tank. Just, it's brilliant. And they have the kind of funny music go on in the background as well, that kind of like humorous action scene. Ejector seat. And then he goes straight in to save everyone, knocking over Eska and Desna, saving the day. And then they get up again, and that's Naga's involvement in this thing, knocking out Eska and Desna. Also, we get to see Korra with her hair down now, which is always nice. Yeah, he was about to go into tell the whole story of Mecha Tank and a grappling hook, but no, he's just like, okay, we've done it, let's get going. Into the portal. Harmonic Convergence is coming. And here's kind of Korra giving the speech. They look to her as the leader here, they're about to go in, and it's pretty important. And then she finally kind of gets that moment with her father where she gives him an order, and he's forced to just accept it. He's not involved in this one. He has to respect her decision here and just take her advice and go get healed. And it takes Asami out of the rest of the story, but it's just nice to know that Asami is a team player and doesn't like argue about being there when really you kind of do need to be a bender in this place. But and then she gives Mako and Bolin a pretty like important role here, that they have to keep off Unalaq, who's a guy who beat Tonrock. He's established as a super powerful waterbender, and you really feel for those two going into this fight that she has a big role in basically having to combat Vatu and close the portals, But Mako and Bolin are equally important while the Katang siblings go after Jinora. And she just presents it to them like the bad situation is that we get trapped in there forever and die. And she doesn't say as much, but everyone knows that that's the situation. It's just a really dramatic moment before they enter. And obviously, everyone's walked through the spirit portal, body and soul, so they have their bending in here. That's the key point. Which means it does mean they can die in the spirit world too, and not just by the crazy dark bending technique. Here's Korra's kind of big moment where it shows that she's, I suppose, mastered airbending the correct way. One of the best airbending moves we've ever seen, I suppose, in both shows. It's brilliant because this move basically takes out the dark spirits all the time until like halfway through the episode 14, the final episode. That attack, it keeps the spirits away for a really long time, so it's a really effective attack as well. Goes straight to closing the portals, which she probably knows from instinct now that she's kind of connected with Juan and stuff like that. But yeah, the battle between Mako Bolin and Unalaq, very even, the 2-on-1, showing that the brothers work really well together as a team, but also showing that Unalaq is so powerful and so kind of spiritual that he can take on these two powerful bending brothers on his own. And then all the time, Vaatu taunting not Korra, but Rava. He never once, I think, calls Korra by her name, Korra. He always refers to the spirit within her every single time. And that's a key point, that he doesn't, even though he was defeated by Juan and Rava, he still doesn't realize that the key in that partnership was human and spirit together. He only sees like the idea that this creates a more powerful situation, and not the whole idea of a bond, like a mutual bond between the two. And that's going to be key in that when he rips Rava out of Korra, they Unalaq and Vaatu both ignore the opportunity to then take Korra out of the equation by like killing her and focus more on destroying Rava, which is a key point showing the strength of humans, even though the spirit is the one often thought of as having the power. But while Harmonic Convergence arrives, it's great animation, seeing it in the, I suppose, normal animation style, not the beginning style. And we see exactly what happens. Once the portals are open at the next Harmonic Convergence, Vaatu can escape from the prison, and he's out. Perfect way to end the third last episode, to set up the last two episodes as just being the conclusion, the fight, and it just ends with Korra confronted by the most powerful thing she's ever faced and probably ever will face. To just completely like, as much as I knew this could potentially happen, I am not quite prepared for having to take this spirit of darkness on right now. Really good episode. Nice focus on Boomy, and then just the whole setting up perfectly the last two episodes, which I will get to next week. But thanks for watching this episode commentary for K212 Harmonic Convergence. Thanks for listening. Bye.